Yeah, new t-shirt. Rancher. Yeah, no, I got it. You're filming. Hey Aqua fans, I'm Steve Jaguar from Aqua Security, and in this video I'm going to be talking about drift prevention. Now I'm going to set up an environment with a very vulnerable application in my Docker environment. You'll probably have heard of it, you'll know it when you see it. And then I'm going to take advantage of a known exploit that's out there in the wild to get inside that workload and see what I can do. Now at the same time, I'm going to use my runtime policy to add not just drift prevention, but its buddy, executable blacklist, and see what, with just these two controls and one simple policy, I can and cannot do. And we can use our imagination just from there on the different attack vectors that can be controlled and mitigated by a very simple security policy. All right, sounds like fun. Let's go to it. Hey, before I get into drift prevention with a few tasty examples, a report just came across my path in my email. It was a Ponemon report, and it was talking about the value of prevention versus detection. And I thought some of the stats in it were really interesting because drift prevention and some of the other controls that we have in runtime are really about preventing breaches, not as opposed to getting forensics and containing them. And it talked about how 70% of respondents felt that they understood and could contain attacks, and therefore that's where their budget went. However, it turns out that prevention of attacks can reduce the cost by up to 50%. So as a result, 50% of respondents felt that their organizations were wasting limited resources on investments that did not necessarily improve their security. Interesting. All right. So let's get into drift prevention hands-on. It all starts at the command line as usual. And in my environment, I have went and found a known vulnerable application. Let's list target. You can see this is a pretty, I'd say now famous application that was designed to exploit the Equifax struts vulnerability. It's a great example of how to get remote code execution inside a running container. And I have built out my Docker file. Nothing sensitive in there, I hope. Yeah, well, ignore that. That's meaningless. But yeah, using a lot of old technologies and specifically calling in to play that specific vulnerability. You can see here I have the exploit.py. Let's take a quick gander at that. This is from exploit.db. You can go download it. It's freely available and it's very easy to run. You can see I just need a URL and a command. That is vulnerable. So let's give it a try. Now I can go and grab, it's running here. I'll grab my host name from here. And let's just take it for a trial run. I exposed 9080. We saw that in the Docker file. And I know that this particular vulnerability app has this particular path that we need for the exploit. But now I'm just going to run an ls. Let's try. Okay, there's nothing there. That means I'm in an empty directory. Did it work or did it not? Who am I? Ah, bad guy. And we saw that was the last user in the Docker file. So it looks like it's working. Let's take a look back at where it appears in Aqua. And I can see it here. There's Happy Web. Ooh, I've disguised it with a clever name. Let's click on that. And we can see the stack of the host. I can see the Happy Web is running here. It hasn't been running that long, but it's already been scanned. I can open that up and I can see there's already been an event against it. Interesting. It's not running as root. I fixed that. There are critical vulnerabilities. I can click through it very quickly, and if we start looking for struts right down there at the bottom, you can see one of the many struts vulnerabilities that allows for remote code execution has been found. So that is why it is working. Now, what can I do with that with remote code execution? Well, I can do a lot because at the moment I'm not actually blocking a lot of events from happening with my runtime policies in Aqua. In fact, let's try to run one particular command. Let's run a PS, very common enumeration command. And I can see I get a permission denied on that one. Well, let's take a look at what's defending me at the moment. And it's this one right here, the demo video policy. You can see I've called it out with these giant capital letters. It's the only one that is enabled and it's an enforce mode. There's a lot of other ones here that I typically use for demos, but they're all turned off. So this is the only thing I've got, and it has one control, an executable blacklist. Now this, in combination with drift prevention, is extremely powerful. So I've got this PS and I want to be able to run it. Wonder if I can circumvent that executable blacklist then. Perhaps if I were to copy /bin/ps and place that locally in my new PS. Now I haven't blacklisted copy. That appears to be okay. And I haven't blacklisted ls. I really should think about this. I have a growing list of commands that I might want to run, and there is that. What if I do an ls-al my new PS just to get a bit more detail on it? And I can see it's executable and it's me. Interesting indeed. I wonder if I try and run that one now. Excellent. I've done it. I've circumvented my executable blacklist because that particular control works on the path. Okay, interesting. Let's go back and let's add one more control, and that is drift prevention. Now, if we look at drift prevention, it does what it says. Prevent a running executable that was not in the original image. Worth noting, this is Linux only. Now, there's another tick box I could tick down here. If I hover over, it's probably a little bit small, but I'll read it out. When checked, containers with entry point command volumes env ports, users, or work directory that are not the same as the original container image will be blocked from running at all. So that's another little piece of defense in depth, but it's not ticked by default. Worth knowing that's there. But this is the real meat of the control. Now that's on. I'm going to save that out. And I've changed my policy. Now I'm going to go back over here. Let's just try and run this new PS again. Aha, permission denied. We're going to go back over here and we're going to take a look at my audit log. And we can see that the clever name that Docker has given this, Trusted Jennings. How ironic. We're going to look at all of which one I'm at. Block, because that was where I wanted to be. I can roll down and I can see that new PS was blocked by drift prevention and my demo video policy. So we can see what has happened there. I've got a runtime policy that was able to block my executable, which is good because that is an enumeration executable. But when I tried to circumvent it, the new executable was blocked because it was not in the original image. It's a new creation. That's quite fascinating. So if you can imagine now, if we combine these two, and I were to be sensible and actually blocked ls, and perhaps I might want to block copy. And there's all manner of other potential commands that can be quite dangerous. That, for example, who am I? That I might want to block just to make sure that nothing bad can happen. Let's take a more comprehensive example of that. Let's say I haven't blacklisted. I blacklisted all these other dangerous commands, and I happen to have the Rapid7 installation for Metasploit. I'm going to try and actually I'm going to run that exactly as it is, and let's paste that in. See if we can get Metasploit to install, or how well does that go? And it's already gone badly. Bad interpreter, permission denied. And now let's go back over, take a look at our Aqua. We can see more file execs running. We can see bad guy mf install. It's a new process. It's not going to work. It's not going to run. So interesting things have happened in this install. We've seen that although I could curl and leave and try to download something and create this installer for Metasploit, I wasn't able to run that installer. And that is limiting of the blast radius when we're talking about what if somebody can get in and they have the capability for remote code execution. Those are just two examples of the many controls within Aqua that we can use in tandem and be very powerful to mitigate the risk of remote code execution, exploit, or 0-day. Okay, Very cool. That was drift prevention with a side dish of executable blacklist. But what was nice to see them working together. Now I use the struts exploit to get remote code execution, and essentially a very slow moving reverse shell that allowed me to do whatever I want. And I showed that just leaving commands that are often present in base image like ls and ps and who am I gives me a lot of capability to move around and enumerate what I might have. I didn't even run env to see what my environment variables might be because there might have been something dodgy that I didn't want you to see. Now, say I found a way to circumvent that. Say I knew how Aqua worked in terms of blocking those executables. Well, then I created new executables. And that's where drift prevention steps in. And that's very powerful. And it doesn't take AI. There's no special magic learning. I added it right away, and it was in effect in my running workload and was blocking that new executable. And then I tried something a little bit more advanced, like pulling in Metasploit and doing all sorts of stuff like that. Now, granted, I could have had a firewall policy within Aqua to block even getting that Metasploit in, but I wanted to keep it bare bones and just show what you could do with a very simple to-control runtime policy. All right? Excellent. That was drift prevention with a little bit of executable blacklist. I'm Steve Giguere, Aqua Security. Thanks for watching. Still here. Headphones. The sticker. Yes, that is BeerSecOps. Check it out. It is a incredible DevSecOps podcast you can find on Spotify, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and all good other sources. Guests so far have been Liz Rice, Andy Martin, Elisa Shafinsky, Kelsey Hightower, Gene Kim, and the list goes on. Check it out at all good sources. And give yourself a little bit of extra audio for your lockdown pleasure.